co-sponsor?
In all honesty, we're going to double check to make sure that this is legitimate, but we've received word that John Deaver has signed on.
What's your opinion of the governor's proposal on externships?
I don't think it's particularly helpful in the respect that I think you could make a case that classroom teachers should attempt to get into areas where they might be teaching. In other words, you know, an art teacher going to graphic design studio, a history teacher visiting, you know, a local art museum, a science teacher up in my area visiting NASA Glen. But when you start to roll that down to the elementary school level, kindergarten teachers, I mean, there's just not a real good applicability. So I think it's unnecessary.
Are there any other officials that you know, state or local, who are required to do anything like this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
What would be the penalty of not doing it?
There's no penalty. You know, we can point out that he didn't do it. I think he's going to be aware that this requirement lies before him because he's going to have to sign the bill.
Will it go through the same steps as a regular bill? Will it have to go to a committee first, and which committee?
It will go to a committee, rules and reference. We just sent out the co-sponsor request this morning. So the notion that we've already gotten bipartisan support is frankly a little surprising. But after the date for the co-sponsorship closes, then we will formally introduce the bill. It'll be given a bill number, and then rules and reference will have to decide which committee it goes to. We would perhaps assume that it would go to education, but it could go to state and local government, I suppose.
So when do you plan to introduce the bill?
When's the filing deadline, or the sponsorship?
March 13th is when it closes.
March 13th. So perhaps that next Tuesday is when we would formally,
So sometime next week.
yeah.
We've seen bills like this in the past where maybe a Republican lawmaker has said that he wants to require drug screening in order to get government assistance, and so then in response, Democrats have said, well, maybe legislators should be drug screened too in order to get their salary. Can you kind of speak more broadly about, it seems like these bills are sort of a response to put your money where your mouth is kind of thing, where you want state officials to be walking the walk as far as talking, as well as talking the talk. Is there kind of a general concept there?
Well, I mean, I think in the case of the governor, again, he's got a blind spot on the local community issue based on his own political background. So again, I think this would lead to better education policy coming out of the governor's office if he were to complete this externship. And again, with the analysis that's been done, it seems to suggest that the determinant of the A through F outcome is per capita income. Then we need to take some different approaches if we want all Ohio schools to be A-rated districts.
What's the difference between Governor Kasich himself going to these communities and him just sending his staff to talk to different communities?
I think it's a much different experience to be in a situation and to be talking to people that are impacted by policy that you either promote or oppose. I mean, we've been elected to come here and to do the most good for the greatest number of people, and we do that through continuing to learn and through continuing to talk to our constituents and through continuing to do the due diligence when we are putting forth policies like that. So if the governor feels like it's okay to say, hey, you know, in addition to their continuing education requirements, teachers should do an externship, then perhaps it would behoove him to spend some time in a classroom as his own continuing education.
So you're saying that this bill, I guess, assumes that the governor doesn't understand the challenges of Ohio's public schools?
I think that it's always good to have a different type of perspective. So as Representative Smith said, you know, the governor has certainly had a wide variety of a professional background. But I think if you're going to suggest something like this externship, then it would certainly be good to better understand the career of the people to whom you're suggesting it.
And of course, this bill would branch out beyond Governor Kasich then to any incoming governor.
Well, the bill is set to expire December 31st, 2017, so 2018.
So this is specifically calling out Governor Kasich and no other future governors.
We could obviously amend the bill so that future governors would need to also comply with this. But at this point, yes, we don't apply to the current governor.
You don't really expect this to pass, do you?
It's got bipartisan support, and we only released the co-sponsor request about 3 hours ago. So,
Would you expect the governor to actually sign this if it made it to his desk?
I think if it were to land on the governor's desk, it would be very interesting to see how he responds.
Will you try to amend this into the budget? Do you want to amend it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll talk to the folks who signed on as co-sponsors and see what they're comfortable with.
Is this a kind of a tit for tat kind of thing, or are you actually looking for the governor to have experience in every bill that he proposes?
Admittedly, the idea for this legislation came from two sources. One was Governor Kasich, who proposed a 40-hour externship for teachers. The other was my mother, who was a teacher, who said to her son, who was a state representative, don't you think it would serve the residents of Ohio well if legislators and the governor had a better idea of what was going on in the classroom?
My wife's also a kindergarten teacher. She said to me, is this one size fits all? She's wondering how an externship is going to help her as a kindergarten teacher when, you know, they may have 12 more years of education before they actually go out on the job.
I think that's a very valid concern. And I will tell you, my friends that are teachers and people in my district that are teachers said that they would happily roll out the red carpet for Governor Kasich to come and spend some time in their schools and to get a more deep understanding of what it's like on a day-to-day basis.
So to be clear, the bill only applies to the governor, it doesn't set a standard like for legislators to also spend time in classrooms? Because that's the other thing I heard from teachers, is that it's not just Governor Kasich, that lawmakers should also, have to do an externship in school.
As someone who served on a local school board for 12 years, I'd be happy to go back into the classroom. But yeah, this piece of legislation only applies to the governor.
So why not include legislators in on this?
Well, because some of the feedback that I've heard on the governor's proposal is it doesn't have a lot of support from either side of the aisle of our legislative colleagues.
But why not, as well as requiring the governor to do an externship, to require legislators to do externships?
I would imagine that most legislators, if invited by schools in their districts, would be more than happy to spend time with the teachers in their district. I was actually just visiting a school yesterday.
But why not require, like, if you're gonna require the governor, why not require lawmakers? Because like Jackie said, every single person I've talked to has said, well, if they're gonna make us go to a business, we should make lawmakers come to us. All the unions said that, so why not require lawmakers to do it too?
We'll see what the legislative process, how it unfolds in the committee, and perhaps that will be a part of the final bill. But yeah, as of right now, we wanted to start with just the governor.
Is that something you're open to?
Sure.